They captured one of Napoleon's cannons and dragged it back across Europe to England. It weighed 65 tons. They chained it to ships, anchored those ships to the shore, and then carried it along using nothing but manpower. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. After all, Britain had plenty of cannons. It was 1945 and Britain had just won the war. But what they didn't know yet was what would happen next. Aboard a German ship sailing for home, men were frantically removing Enigma machines. Thousands of them. These machines were so top secret, each one had to be destroyed before boarding the ship. As these men worked, they knew if the British got their hands on one, the war could be over in an instant. But the war wasn't over yet, and the race was on. In just a few months, Allied forces would seize many of the German Enigma machines. But none of them were fully intact. In fact, no one had ever seen one being used. So how did the British crack the Enigma code? Let's go back a little further. In 1932, the British government was worried. Many of their diplomats abroad had been receiving intercepted messages that seemed almost impossible to read. That's because the Germans had come up with a brilliant idea, a machine called Enigma. This machine generated a seemingly random letter and then arranged them into a message. But the Enigma wasn't random at all. Each morning it started with a new encryption, and that encryption was never repeated. That meant to decipher the messages, the British needed to know the encryption, which they had no way of knowing. It was like trying to guess the combination to a safe without peeking inside. But the Germans kept doing it every day, and each time they did, they sent a new message with a new encryption. To solve the Enigma, the British brought in a man named Alan Turing. And believe it or not, he wasn't even a mathematician. You see, Turing had already become famous for solving logic problems. But he was still relatively unknown outside of academia. Turing was different. He approached problems differently than other people, but not everyone understood him. For example, during an interview with the British government, they asked him to describe his job. Instead of saying mathematician, he said something else, something that sounded a bit strange to the interviewers. I'm a logician. I work on Entscheidungsprobe. Can you help me? Because I think it's really important. These days we take certain things for granted. Computers, smartphones, and the internet are just a few things that dominate our everyday life. We use them to connect with friends and family, watch videos, and learn about the world around us. But can you believe that these things weren't around long ago? In fact, some of the technology we rely on today was developed during World War II. One of the most significant advances came when mathematicians and scientists raced against time to break enemy codes. Turing, who was a code breaker, created a machine called the bomb, which helped crack the German Enigma code during World War II. But why is this important? Well, you see, the Germans used Enigma machines to encrypt secret messages, which gave them an advantage in the war. If the Allies could break the code, it would be a game changer, and that's exactly what happened. By creating the bomb, Turing and his team were able to decrypt German communications, giving the Allies valuable intelligence. But the impact of the bomb went beyond the war. You see, the process of breaking the Enigma code led to the development of computers. And now, let's talk about the real reason why Turing's story is important. During World War II, there was a lot of fear and discrimination against gay people. And unfortunately, Turing was persecuted for his homosexuality. In 1952, he was arrested for gross indecency after having a relationship with a man named Arnold Murray. Although Turing's arrest was a violation of his civil rights, he was given the option to serve time in prison or undergo hormone therapy. He chose the latter, which ultimately led to his death in 1954 at the age of 41. But despite the tragic ending to his story, Turing's legacy lives on. His contributions to mathematics and computer science are still studied and celebrated today. And in recent years, there has been a growing movement to pardon him and recognize him as the hero he truly was. Alright, let's get back to it. By 1937, the British government had finally approved funding for Turing's research, but he still needed a way to test his ideas. So he turned to the next best thing to a computer, paper and pencil. He worked with his team to try and figure out a way to break the Enigma code. They tried everything they could think of, but nothing seemed to work. Then one day, Turing had a breakthrough. He realized that the Enigma machine wasn't as random as it seemed. In fact, it followed a set of rules that could be broken down and solved. With this realization, Turing and his team developed a new machine called the bomb, which used a series of gears and rotors to simulate the Enigma machine. This allowed them to test thousands of possibilities in minutes, a feat that would have taken a human much longer. The bombs were a huge success, and the British government quickly ordered several more. By the end of the war, the British had built over 10,000 bombs, which helped them break the Enigma code on a daily basis. But the work was far from easy. Each bomb had to be programmed with a new set of settings every morning, and it could take hours to do. Plus, the machines were constantly evolving and getting better, and the British had to stay one step ahead of them. Despite the challenges, the work paid off. The bomb helped the British break countless German messages, which gave them valuable intelligence throughout the war. It's estimated that the bomb saved countless lives and helped shorten the war by 2 years. But the impact of the bombs went beyond the war. You see, the technology developed for the bombs laid the foundation for modern computers. And without Turing and his team's work, we might not have the technology we rely on today. When news broke about the British capturing German Enigma machines, excitement spread like wildfire. It was a propaganda coup and an opportunity to show the world the strength of the British war machine. There was just one problem. No one knew how to turn the machines into propaganda. That's where Turing and his team came in. By using the bomba, they were able to decode the German transmissions and discover the secrets behind the Enigma machines. The news of this discovery caused a sensation in Britain and the rest of the world. People were amazed at the ingenuity and brilliance of the British war machine, and for the first time, people knew the details of how Enigma worked. The next step was to put this knowledge to good use. The British began using the bomb to decode German transmissions, which gave them an invaluable source of intelligence. Thanks to the bomb, the British were able to track German U-boats, disrupt their supply lines, and even plan D-Day. The impact of this intelligence cannot be overstated. It's estimated that the bombs saved countless lives and helped shorten the war by 2 years. But it wasn't just the military that benefited from the bomb. The British government also used it to spy on their enemies at home. You see, the Nazis had been using the Enigma machine to communicate with their spies in Britain. But thanks to the bomb, the British were able to catch many of these spies and thwart their plans. However, the use of the bomb wasn't without its critics. Some people argued that it was a violation of privacy and civil liberties. But in the end, the benefits of the bomb outweighed the concerns, and it continued to be used throughout the war. As the war came to an end, the British began dismantling the bomb and its secrets. They didn't want the Germans to get their hands on this powerful technology, so they shipped the machines to a remote location in Scotland. There they were melted down and turned into ordinary metal. But the story of the bomb didn't end there. You see, after the war, the British government realized the potential of this technology. They began developing the first electronic computers, and many of the key concepts had been developed during the war. Without the work of Turing and his team, the world of computing would have been set back years. But as we mentioned before, Turing's legacy was a complicated one. Despite his contributions to mathematics and computer science, he was persecuted for his homosexuality and died a tragic death. But in recent years, there has been a growing movement to pardon him and recognize him as the hero he truly was. So the next time you sit down at your computer or check your smartphone, take a moment to remember the work of Alan Turing and the other codebreakers who helped win the war and shape the future of technology. Can you imagine a world without computers or the internet? Without Turing, that might have been our reality. But thanks to his genius and the work of his team, we have the technology that drives our modern world. It's a legacy that continues to inspire and shape our world today. And if you enjoyed this glimpse into history's hidden heroes, Hit subscribe for more untold stories that shaped our world.